Welcome to a deep dive that promises to sharpen your eye for the subtly ridiculous and, well, the overtly absurd. Today, we're plunging into the world of Nikolai Gogol, a literary giant renowned for his biting wit and unforgettable characters.
It's a fascinating world, isn't it? Gogol holds a truly unique place in Russian literature.
How so?
Well, it's not just for his comedic genius, though that's huge, but for how he masterfully used that humor to, peel back the layers of society and human nature. He revealed some profound truths that way.
Right. And our mission today is to unpack some of his most impactful works. We're definitely talking about the poignant short story, The Coat,
A classic.
and his monumental, though sadly unfinished masterpiece, Dead Souls.
Mm-hmm.
You'll discover how Gogol transformed the mundane, the everyday, into something extraordinary. He expertly highlighted the often comical flaws embedded in bureaucracy.
Oh, definitely.
And left this indelible mark on Russian storytelling. It's actually surprising, almost disturbing, how relevant his insights into human pretension still feel today.
They really do. And we're drawing from a really rich collection of sources for this: academic analyses, literary essays, sure, but also some lively discussions among readers,
Good mix.
Yeah. We'll try to connect the dots between Gogol's unique vision and its lasting influence on literary titans like Dostoevsky. And we'll even explore how his potent themes of poshlust will unpack that term, how they continue to echo in our contemporary world. It's going to be quite an insightful journey, I think.
Okay, so let's begin with Gogol himself. In a Russian literary landscape that was often, let's say, pretty steeped in pessimism and seriousness.
Very much so.
What made him stand out so much? Why is he considered such a foundational figure?
It's fascinating because he's often lauded as literally the only great comic writer in the Russian language. That's quite a statement.
It really is.
His distinction, well, it seems to come from what one source calls a double nature. On one hand, a remarkable genius for moral satire, paired with an equally powerful genius for pure fun. He created these dramatic works known all over the world, like Revisor, which you might know as the Inspector General.
Yes, the Inspector General.
And it's described incredibly, I think, as both a terrible indictment against the most corrupt bureaucracy of modern times and simultaneously an uproarious farce.
Wow, that blend of humor and serious social commentary sounds incredibly potent. It's almost like he weaponized laughter, didn't he?
Precisely. A very effective weapon, too. Take Revisor again. It's a prime example. The origin story is quite telling.
Oh.
Apparently, Pushkin himself was once mistaken for a state functionary, and he shared this amusing, probably frustrating experience with Gogol.
No kidding.
Yeah, and Gogol then developed it into this incredible play. Gogol himself later wrote, and I'm paraphrasing a bit, that in Revisor he tried to gather all that was bad in Russia, wishing to turn it all into ridicule. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How does humor let an author critique society in ways that maybe straightforward condemnation can't? It seems to bypass people's defenses somehow.
And it clearly resonated. It even bypassed censorship in surprising ways, right? A Tsar Nicholas who actually laughed out loud at Revisor?
Well, that's the story. He reportedly laughed and ordered it to be acted despite its incredibly critical content.
It's a powerful testament to humor's ability to disarm even at the highest levels. Okay, so from that grand satirical play, let's zoom in now. Let's look at one of his most poignant short stories, The Coat.
Mm-hmm.
It's astonishing how Gogol uses something as simple as everyday as a coat to expose the profound vulnerability of an individual within a crushing, indifferent system. Let's dive into Sobakevitch Bashmachkin's world.
It absolutely does just that. The Coat centers on Sobakevitch Bashmachkin. He is, as our sources describe him, an ordinary civil official, really just languishing at the very, very bottom of the Russian bureaucracy.
A nobody, essentially.
Pretty much. And its central dilemma unfolds when the harsh cold means he simply has to get a new coat. But for a poor official like him, it's very expensive, like prohibitively so.
So this isn't just about warmth, is it? It quickly becomes his entire world, his aspiration. Why do you think Gogol elevates such a seemingly, trivial item to something of such profound significance for Akaki?
That's the genius of it, I think. Akaki truly invests all his savings into this new coat. He views it as his most honorable piece of clothing, even the honor of his life.
The honor of his life over a coat.
Yeah. The sources suggest the purchase genuinely transforms him, at least in his mind. It offers him this fleeting glimpse of a different existence where he imagines he might no longer be so obscure. Maybe he could even make it big in the official world. It becomes the symbol of hope and self-worth.
Okay, I see.
But then tragically, On his way home from a little celebration, a party thrown in honor of the coat, actually,
Oh, no.
it gets snatched away by robbers. Gone.
And the very bureaucracy which he serves so faithfully, the backdrop of his whole life, it just completely fails him when he needs help. What does that tell us about the system Gogol was critiquing?
Well, his desperate attempts to get an explanation, to report the crime, they're met with just utter disappointment, a shocking lack of empathy.
How so?
The police officer he goes to, rather than offering any help, actually blamed him for not following the rules and regulations of petitioning to a higher level.
You're kidding? Blamed him?
Yep. Deeming his behavior, his distress, an unforgivable crime, procedure over person.
Unbelievable.
So unable to cope with this injustice, this devastating loss, Bashmachkin eventually died of depression.
Just died from losing his coat and being ignored.
That's the implication. This tragic outcome stemming from a seemingly small item perfectly highlights the absurdity, the inherent cruelty of an inflexible, impersonal system, a system that values procedure far above human suffering.
Okay, so if the coat showed us the individual crushed by an unfeeling system, Dead Souls casts a much wider, more ambitious net. We turn now to a much grander and arguably more audacious character, Chichikov. He's called the uniquely Russian hero of Dead Souls. His scheme is really something else, isn't it?
It truly is. Chichikov's entire enterprise revolves around this astonishingly cynical plan, buying dead souls.
Dead Souls, what does that even mean?
Well, these were deceased serfs, peasants who had died but were still listed on the official census rolls until the next revision.
Okay.
And crucially, landowners had to pay taxes on them until that revision, so they were a burden.
I see.
So Chichikov's audacious plan is to buy these legally living but actually non-living peasants for next to nothing.
Because they're worthless to the landowners.
Exactly. Then he registers them as his own property. And here's the kicker. He plans to mortgage these souls to the Council of Public Trust for a substantial sum of money.
Mortgage dead people. How?
By pretending he's going to settle them on lands he supposedly owns in the Kherson province, like he's colonizing the region with newly acquired serfs.
Wow. So he's not just finding a loophole. He's leveraging a bureaucratic absurdity built on, well, human tragedy for pure audacious profit.
That's it, exactly.
What kind of individual, and I guess what kind of society, allows such a plan to even be conceived, let alone potentially executed, just by charming the right people?
That's the core question Gogol forces us to ask. And Chichikov's approach, as our sources highlight, is deeply rooted in his upbringing.
His father's advice, wasn't it?
Yes, he applies his father's very cynical advice from childhood. Make friends with the richer. Never entertain or treat anyone, but see that everyone entertains and treats you.
Nice.
And crucially, keep and save your every kopeck. To save money is the most important thing in life. Nothing in the world cannot be done, cannot be attained with the aid of money.
That's quite the philosophy.
It forms the very foundation of his cunning approach. And he honed this through years in the civil service, where he apparently mastered the art of flattery and turning bribes to his advantage without seeming overtly corrupt.
So he learned the system from the inside.
Precisely. He cultivated this impressive charm of manner and bearing, and, importantly, great diligence in business matters. He appears respectable.
This paints a vivid picture, doesn't it? A society where appearances, financial maneuvering, personal charm, they could easily trump ethics. Yeah. Makes it ripe for Chichikov's kind of exploitation. Okay, so as Chichikov travels to buy these dead souls, he encounters this incredible gallery of landowners. Each one feels like a brilliant caricature.
Absolutely.
And it's through these encounters that Gogol truly dissects what Nabokov famously called poshlost. Can you remind us what that means again?
Right, poshlost. Nabokov defined it as not only the obviously trashy, but mainly the falsely important, the falsely beautiful, the falsely clever, and the falsely attractive. It's a kind of profound, often self-satisfied mediocrity or spiritual vulgarity.
Okay, the falsely important. I like that. So let's meet a few key examples from Dead Souls that really bring this insidious concept to life.
Definitely. This parade of characters is where Gogol's satire truly shines, exposing all these different facets of poshlost. First up, there's Manilov. He's described as the well-mannered daydreamer who has succumbed to ennui. Just apathy.
Sounds pleasant enough on the surface.
Exactly. Chichikov finds him endlessly sweet, full of these luscious glances and compliments. Manilov lives in a beautiful house, expensive furniture, but then you look closer.
Ah, there's the catch.
2 chairs in the main room lack upholstery, and apparently a whole other room has remained completely bare for years. It's a perfect visual metaphor for his superficiality, signifying his aimless and undeveloped projects. It's all appearance, absolutely no substance.
You know, I think we all probably know a Manilov.
Hmm.
Or maybe have a bit of Manilov in us sometimes, those grand plans that never quite make it past the daydream state.
Oh, absolutely. It's relatable in that uncomfortable way. Then we swing almost to the opposite end with Sobakevitch. He's described wonderfully as the perfect medium-sized bear. Physically and temperamentally, yeah. He's blunt, cynical, brutally honest. He calls all the local officials swindlers who would sell Christ. No messing around.
Doesn't sound very posh lost if he's that honest.
Ah, but his posh lost is different. It's grounded, almost crude. His room, interestingly, is filled with full-length engravings of Greek generals, suggesting maybe this kind of brute, uncomplicated strength or ideal.
Yeah.
He immediately understands Chichikov's game. No pretense there. He's ready to sell his dead souls, but for a high price. And he praises them, these dead men, as if they were still alive and incredibly skilled.
Like what?
Like Mitchev, he had the strength of a horse in his shoulders, or Maxim Telyatnikov, the bootmaker. Anything that he drove his all into became a pair of boots. He's commodifying them, even in death.
So his is a posh lost of raw, almost vulgar materialism, devoid of Manilov's flimsy niceties.
Exactly. It's a different flavor, but still that emptiness, that focus on the wrong things.
That's a sharp contrast.
Yeah.
And then there's Plushkin. He sounds like a character almost beyond belief, even more extreme.
Plushkin is perhaps the most extreme example of miserliness and decay in the book. He's a wizened old man, described as a miser such as never you could imagine.
Worse than Scrooge.
Maybe even worse. The text says, even convicts in prison live better than he does. His serfs keep dying like flies, presumably from neglect, and he practically starves his own servants.
That's grief.
When Chichikov visits, he finds him smothering his guest with dust as he untied successive packages of papers. Everything is decaying, hoarded. He counts his dead souls, these worthless names on paper, as close-packed as a cloud of midges.
Ugh. So Plushkin embodies a posh lost of self-destructive hoarding, where wealth, or even the decaying idea of it, completely eclipses humanity.
Perfectly put. It's decay made manifest.
These aren't just funny characters, are they? They feel like really profound indictments.
Yeah.
Manilov's vacant idleness, Sobakevitch's brutal pragmatism, Plushkin's decay. They reveal this deep rot, don't they? A kind of moral emptiness at the heart of the system.
Definitely.
What does this collective portrait really say about feudal Russia at the time?
It's Gogol's powerful way of showing that ultimately, feudalism was just as ruthless as the new capitalism of Chichikov. Both systems were about exploiting people, sucking the blood of the poor, and counting every penny.
Two sides of the same coin.
Pretty much. And remember, we've only touched on a few. Chichikov encounters many more, like Korobotchka, the garrulous, silly old woman who's intensely suspicious and haggles over pennies for her dead souls. Or Nozdrev, the boisterous, lying gambler who tries to cheat Chichikov at chess and causes chaos everywhere. Each one is a specific, often exaggerated manifestation of the folly and moral laxity Gogol observed. It reinforces the sheer breadth of the societal issues he was tackling.
It's quite a gallery. Moving beyond the individual characters, though, Gogol also seems to imbue the very landscape, the spirit of Russia itself, with this powerful, almost mystical presence. It feels like Russia becomes a character in the story, too.
You're absolutely right. That's a key element. Russia is often painted as having a mysterious force over its people, just like gravity. You can feel it in his descriptions.
Can you give an example?
He paints these vivid pictures of the boundless steppes, the illimitable wastes of snow, the long winter night. It conveys this undeniable impression of immensity, of something vast and maybe uncontrollable.
And that famous Troika passage.
Ah, yes, the Troika. That speeding, traditional Russian three-horse carriage. He uses it as this powerful metaphor, asking, and you, Russia of mine, are not you also speeding like a troika which naught can overtake?
What do you think he meant by that?
Well, it evokes both the nation's wild, untamed energy, its forward momentum, but also its unknown, perhaps even uncontrollable destiny. Where is it speeding to? Nobody knows. It's exhilarating, but also a bit terrifying.
And amidst all this satire, all this absurdity, his reverence for the Russian language itself is so striking.
Definitely. Gogol held this profound pride in the language. He famously declared it perhaps the greatest language in the world in richness, variety, definiteness, and elegance.
High praise.
And he added, it's capable of saying much in little, and saying it with tremendous force. You feel that power in his own writing. He also had this belief, maybe a hope, that the Russian nature was capable more than any other of receiving the noble word of the gospel, pointing towards perfection.
So even amidst the harsh satire, there's this undercurrent of spiritual hope, or potential at least.
It seems that way, a belief in some deeper capacity within the Russian soul, despite the posh loss he saw everywhere.
It certainly sounds like Gogol wasn't just telling stories. He was truly forging entirely new paths in literature. How did that trailblazing really manifest in his influence on others? And what other works beyond Dead Souls capture that unique genius?
Oh, there's no doubt about his influence. He's often called, quite rightly, undoubtedly, the founder of Russian fiction. Dead Souls in particular is seen as the foundation of Russian fiction, something that helped sustain the wonderful work of Turgenev, Tolstoy, and Dostoevsky.
Wow. So all the later giants stand on his shoulders, in a way?
That's the argument, that all subsequent great novels in Russia point back to Dead Souls. You even see these direct little nods to him sometimes.
Like what?
Well, there's a moment in Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment where a character remarks, and I'm quoting loosely here, they say it's Gogol, among writers, who had this trait in the highest degree. And they're referring to a kind of playful, comical, yet profound way of looking at the world.
So Dostoevsky himself acknowledged that debt.
Clearly admired it, yeah. Built upon it.
And his shorter works, like The Nose, they're incredibly well known just for their sheer absurdity. What does a story like that tell us about his broader social commentary?
The Nose is fantastic. It's a perfect example of his absurdism mixed with very sharp social critique.
Just remind us of the plot. It's wild.
It is. A man, Major Kovalyov, wakes up one morning to find his nose has just detached itself from his face.
Just gone.
Gone. And worse, the nose has somehow acquired a higher military rank than Kovalyov himself and is parading around St. Petersburg in a uniform, acting like a high-status official.
That's brilliant.
Isn't it? Gogol uses this utterly surreal premise to satirize the obsession with status in that society, the weight on name, ranks, lineage, and people's physical features.
So the nose itself becomes a symbol of rank.
Exactly. It shows how society can reduce a person's entire being to a mere social status, represented by, well, a runaway nose. It's as if a tiny part of our body could determine your entire standing. Utterly absurd, but it makes a sharp point about superficiality and hierarchy.
And where did he get such a bizarre idea?
Well, some scholars think this story, in its playful, whimsical, yet critical style, might have been inspired partly by Lawrence Stern's Tristram Shandy, which also, believe it or not, featured the nose as a pretty significant symbolic subject.
Fascinating connections. So Gogol not only crafted these monumental, unfinished masterpieces like Dead Souls, but also these incredibly sharp, surreal short stories like The Nose, effectively setting the stage and really inspiring the whole next generation of great Russian novelists. Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. We've journeyed through the bureaucratic nightmares of poor Sobakevitch and his ill-fated coat.
Such a sad story.
We navigated the cunning world of Chichikov and his truly audacious Dead Souls scheme.
Quite the operator.
And we met a whole gallery of eccentric landowners, each one a kind of mirror reflecting different societal follies. We've seen how Gogol used humor and satire not just to make us laugh, but really to expose the profound absurdities and pretenses of his time. Everything from petty officialdom to grand self-important delusions.
And if we try to connect this to the bigger picture, Gogol's really key observation of poshlos, that blend of the falsely important, the falsely clever, the falsely attractive, it remains incredibly pertinent, doesn't it?
How so, you think?
Well, it raises an important question for us today, I think. In a world that's just awash with information, appearances, constant self-curation online and off, are we still, maybe consciously or unconsciously, engaged in our own modern versions of Chichikov's schemes? Or perhaps indulging in a bit of Manilov's blissful, unproductive idleness?
That's a challenging thought. Are our social media profiles, our version of Manilov's unfurnished rooms, all show no substance?
Could be. Gogol prompts us to look deeper than the surface, doesn't he? To question what truly holds value versus what's merely performative or, well, superficial.
Yeah.
Perhaps the enduring power of his work isn't just in making us laugh, though it certainly does that, but in compelling us to reflect on the dead souls, the empty pursuits, the moral compromises, and the societal poshloth that might exist within our own lives and our own communities today.
So the final question for you listening is, what will you uncover in your own deep dive after hearing about Gogol? What posh loss might you recognize around you, or even in yourself?
Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Nikolai Gogol. It's been fascinating.
It really has. Keep reading, keep questioning.
And keep unmasking the absurd.